I just went back and I met a boy in Rwanda that I photographed 7 years ago. And I took an iPhone. I wanted to show him his story on the internet. And I was like, I want you to know that your story, brought clean water to hundreds of thousands of people. Like, you let me tell it all those years ago, and all these people have.
And he had no idea.
He knew that we had photographed his story. He didn't know to the extent
of what it did.
And so I scrolled through the story, and he was just beaming. He was smiling. I'm like, all I did was Google his name, and it's on the internet, right? But he doesn't have access to the internet, right? He lives in extreme poverty and doesn't know. And so
It's a great story.
Yeah, but it's cool to go back and find those. I'm gonna tell. I know I'm talking like crazy, but there's another little one I want to give you a snippet of, like, even going past that. How do we really make sure that we're doing it right? I was contacted by a publishing company to license one of my photos for a cover of a book. It's really easy to say yes, right? I photographed this photo, I think it was 7 years ago, and say, hey, yeah, we'll license it for the cover. I never asked that woman that I photographed that they wanted the cover for if I could put it on the cover of a book. But what I did was I said yes. I said, I'll license it, but you have to know that I have to go find her. Like, to actually approve this and make sure all goes through, I'm going to go find her. And so I went back to that village with the photo last year. And I mean, she's a woman.
7 years later.
7 years later. It was 6 years at the time. So 6 years later. And I just went with a photo. I'm like, do you know this woman? Do you know, her name is Mpandabundi. And they were like, the second woman I meet on the side of the road knows where she lives. I was like, so this woman gets in my vehicle with 3 kids she's got with her. She's got a baby on her back. And she takes us on this road and walks down. And I'm like, we got to find this woman. And we show up, and she wasn't there, so I had to wait a little while. But there's this little 6 or 7 year old walking around. And I was like, that's the baby. So it's like this woman, it's this iconic shot that I photographed all those years ago that the photo changed me as a photographer. So when God was like, stop seeing people on this level, I would lift them up. And I got down below this woman and looked up to her. And so I see this little girl walking around. I'm like, that's the baby on the back of my photo. And I realized she's all grown up. And so she eventually comes running up, the mom, and it was just this beautiful reunion. And we sat down, and I've told her story to so many people. I photographed, this beautiful, people have her photo hanging in their house. It was part of this light series that I did. And I said, how are you? And she lives with her 3 kids in a little hut. She sells vegetables in the market, and she's trying to survive and is barely doing it with all these kids. None of them are educated. And just that, for me, that was this realization of, I'm here on the other side of the world just taking pictures, selling them. Here she is, living in extreme poverty, suffering, right? So how do I bridge that? Where's dignity in that, right? And in that instance, I'm taking, right? I'm not helping her at all. And so I went and I got with my Rwandan friends, and I said, what do you think we should do? And they said that they thought it would be best to put their kids in school. And so I took the licensing money, and I sponsored her daughter until she's 18 to go to college, or to go to high school, elementary and high school. And so I got her other 2 kids sponsored as well. And so now I get to write with her because she's in a sponsorship program. It's great. I went to see her just a couple months ago to see how she's doing. We got her some chickens and brought her the book that she's the cover of. She was so excited. But now there's a relationship, it's so much more. And that's where I see it's like, it's not just a photo at the end of the day. It's not just, there's a person behind that photo. There's a life behind it. And it's like us connecting with it. It's so much more than just like this shot.